Hey, I'm Creech. This is Creech and Cars, and look, no matter who you are, we all want to drive a nice car, but few of us have the money to throw around on brand new luxury cars. So here are 10 cheap cars that look much more expensive than they really are, especially to non-car people. I tried to select cars for multiple budgets, but all of the cars on this list can be found on the used market for less than $20,000. I looked at prices from around the country, so keep in mind that depending on where you live, it might be harder to find these cars for cheap. Also, before you run to the comments to complain about poor reliability, remember that pretty much every car on this list is cheap to buy and not necessarily cheap to own. Cheap cars are cheap for a reason, and that reason is usually that the car is a money pit. With that in mind, let's get right into it. The first car is the BMW E63 6 Series, which can easily be found for less than $10,000. The E63 is the coupe and the E64 is the convertible, but prices are pretty similar for both. This generation of the 6 Series has aged pretty well in my opinion, especially compared to other BMWs of the time. The 6 Series offers great performance for the money as well. The 645 Ci has a 4.4 liter V8 that makes 330 horsepower, and the 650i has a 4.8 liter V8 that makes 360 horsepower. The interior isn't super techy, but looks surprisingly modern for an older car, so the 6 Series will impress people inside and out and still gives off the impression of the $70,000 luxury coupe that it once was. You may also be able to step up to the next gen F12 model by stretching the budget just a little bit. Next is the first generation Land Rover Range Rover Sport, which you can buy for under or around $10,000. Over the past 20 years, luxury SUVs have become the status symbol of choice, so I had to throw in an SUV here. A cheap Range Rover Sport can look pretty expensive with its distinctive interior and exterior design. It also offers you luxury features and off-roading features like a great four-wheel drive system, so if that's important to you, this will be the one to go for. While it's no sports car, the 4.4 liter V8 isn't short on power, making 300 horsepower, and there's an optional supercharged V8 that makes 375 horsepower. Stretching the budget a little bit can net you a newer one with fewer miles and features like LED running lights and the updated interior. Being able to say you drive a Porsche doesn't just imply that you drive an expensive car, it also implies that you drive a fun car, and for less than $15,000, you can get yourself into a very nice Porsche 986 Boxster, although you may even be able to find some under $10,000. The 986 gives off the classic Porsche Roadster look, and the basic interior is still fairly nice. Although the brand is much more common now, it still holds a solid performance reputation, and the mid-engine layout and center-mounted exhaust give off the high-end performance look more than anything else. Superb handling and nearly perfect weight distribution, combined with 250 horsepower from the water-cooled flat 6-cylinder, make for a great driving experience that everyone can appreciate. Because these are usually weekend cars for the original owners, it's not uncommon for them to have exceptionally low mileage. Next is the X351 Jaguar XJ, which can be found in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Full-size luxury sedans always look expensive, especially when coming from a less common luxury brand like Jaguar. The X351 generation updated the styling to move away from the retro look, and the result is a design that still looks new today. The interior is a luxurious mix of classy and modern, with a large infotainment screen and digital gauge cluster that meshes with supple leather accented by large wood panels. The car is very roomy as well, especially if you get the XJL. Under the hood is a supercharged 5 liter V8 that pumps out 385 horsepower, and all around the car still gives the impression of being a luxury flagship. But if you want a flagship sedan with a sportier touch, then you should look for the W218 CLS for under or around $20,000. The CLS was essentially the first 4-door coupe when it debuted in 2004, and the first gen still looks pretty good, but the second gen, which came out in 2011, features more aggressive styling and a much more modern interior. The LED running lights and frameless doors show off a high-end performance look, and there are usable back seats and decent trunk space. The unique body style makes it look more futuristic and helps the design age well. The CLS also performs as well as it looks with a 400 horsepower V8 standard. The interior also offers luxury features and plenty of comfort to make the car a daily driver. any list like this wouldn't be complete without at least one Maserati, so I decided to go with the Maserati Ghibli, which you can get into for less than $20,000. The more exotic brand name helps the car look much more expensive than something like a BMW. The styling is also distinctly Italian, and I do think the Ghibli looks good. It has aggressive and sporty styling, frameless doors, and a quad tip exhaust. It hasn't been redesigned since it debuted in 2014, so it still looks pretty new. The interior is lackluster considering the Ghibli had a base price around $70,000 almost 10 years ago, but today, among other $20,000 cars, the Ghibli is nice enough. The base model comes standard with 345 horsepower from a V6, but it's possible to find an SQ4 model for just a little more money that will get you 400 horsepower from the same engine and can do 0 to 60 in the high 4-second range. And if you are looking for more sports sedan options, then you also want to look at the 970 Porsche Panamera, which you can buy for around $20,000. While the 970's design is a little wonky and not as clean as the 971, it still looks very high-end and expensive. While the base model came with a 3.6-liter V6, you can find a Panamera with the 4.8-liter twin-turbo V8 if you stretch the budget just a little bit. But even with the V6, the Panamera still drives like a Porsche with 300 horsepower and offers excellent backseat room and cargo area, making it very practical as well. The interior is more luxurious and comfort-oriented than the 718 and 911, so it's much better as a daily driver and will impress both front and rear passengers beyond the brand name with its space and amenities. But if you want a classier German sedan, then the understated D4 Audi A8 could be for you. Easily found under $15,000, the D4 generation offers the clean and modern styling found on the brand new A8 at a small fraction of the cost, and has modern touches like LED running lights on the exterior and a nice infotainment screen on the interior. The interior offers the opulence expected from a German luxury automaker with a ton of high-end features, and being a full-size sedan, the A8 has a ton of room inside and a huge trunk. However, if you want even more space for the rear passengers, the long wheelbase version is fairly easy to find and gives the fullest experience of a flagship sedan. While the A8 is quite heavy, it is supplied with enough power to move smoothly with a standard 4.2-liter V8 that makes 370 horsepower or a more efficient turbo V6 that makes 330 horsepower. But if you're leaning more towards a coupe or convertible, one option to look at is the Mercedes-Benz E-Class C207 Coupe and A207 Cabriolet, which you can buy for less than $15,000 and often less than $10,000. The E-Class Coupe looks much better and more expensive than the sedan in my opinion. The styling is definitely different and more angular than the current E-Class Coupe, but it still looks high-end. The interior is luxurious, although it may not be for you if you want something super sporty. The convertible model offers some more fun while still being quiet and solid with the top up. While it's not explicitly a sports car, the C207 is no slouch either. The base model comes standard with a V6 that makes 270 horsepower for the 2010 and 2011 model years, and then 300 horsepower for the later model years. And finally, if you want something that's a little newer but still won't break the bank, then look no further than the Alfa Romeo Giulia. You can get this compact Italian sports sedan for under or around $20,000, and even though the Giulia isn't super expensive brand new, with the brand being less common in America and Italian cars being perceived as more exotic in general, it can give the impression of being a higher end car and even a high-performance car with the aggressive Italian styling. While it only has a 2-liter 4-cylinder, it is turbocharged and puts out 280 horsepower and has a nice exhaust note to top it off. The interior is appropriate for the price, but there are some subtle cues like the logo being embossed on the headrest that make it look a little more special than it actually is. So there are 10 cars to consider if you want to look like you spent more than you actually did. And as I said previously, many of these cars are only cheap until you get the first repair bills. Are there any cars that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. On this channel, I talk about car culture like this, as well as news and history. So if you like videos like this, check out the other videos on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.